we'll talk a little bit about storytelling in your grandmother's home. I know that was really important to you, and you told me numerous times that bonds were cemented during those storytelling times at your grandmother's. Will you tell the kids what was that all about?
Because we didn't have all the artificial means of entertaining ourselves like they do here in these households and these days, like television and iPad and your iPhone and all of that. We would entertain ourselves by telling stories, and it's usually somebody in the house that is a good storyteller, and it's either an older man or an older woman, whichever is available. And many a times they would exchange, but most of the time the ones that we would always remember when we were real little kids would be this my grandmother and her sister Nono. They would tell these stories. It's like these are like common stories, um, in the islands, that you hear it over and over again. And sometimes, and other people would tell their grandchildren same story. So these are kind of like generic stories in the islands, and and we would like finish. While we, like in the evening, we would have dinner, and then have prayers, and then we have storytelling. And that's usually how you go out into the night, sleep, falling asleep with storytelling. And many kids sometimes they would start the stories and they're already sleeping, and then there would always be that one person that is still kind of like trying to brave staying up and like, okay, yes, go ahead and tell the story, yes, continue. But these stories are often they really pull at your heartstring, and they would make you feel so like sad for the characters, or and often to the point where you would cry, and um, you know it's just that emotional grip that it has on you as a little kid. And then of course when you grow up, you don't do those stories anymore. You go on doing other things, but it's usually like when we're little kids, and there would be chanting along with it. You're mixing it up, like the characters would have like a musical where you tell a story, and then you chant in the middle of the stories. So it's kind of an organized kind of thing where it happens, and it happens at night, and that's kind of like how you develop a relationship with your parents and grandparents, and it's usually the older persons.
Now, from your experience in Honolulu, are the older folks still getting a chance to share these stories with the youth, or what's happening?
I don't know other households, but the ones that I'm just observing my nieces and nephews that are just growing up now. Uh, I remember because I remember some of these kids when they were babies, and when they start growing up on the island with my grandmother who was here. So all of them were back on the islands in the 80s or 90s, no, in the 90s. And so they grew up with storytelling. But here, their own kids, they don't have storytelling. They have iPads and to distract them with it. they have all of these apps where, you know, they, you know, they play it on their iPads or watching TV or, you know. So it's sort of kind of like uh, takes away from the role of the grandmother, because she doesn't have access to the same kind of instrument for entertainment or, you know, storytelling. Her storytelling is being replaced by you know, iPads and you know.
Now, Jojo, would you consider this to be cultural loss?
In a way, yes, I think it's a bit of a cultural loss, because we have no control, no means of controlling the content and the interaction. Although I believe that you can also do it. Like for example, you can create your own, you know, culturally uh, relevant storytelling on the iPad, where, you know, the grandmother can also tell stories where, you know, then they can, you know, absorb the story on the iPad. So in a way, it is there is a sense of cultural loss that's attached, you know, that's, you know, that we're experiencing in terms of, you know, first of all, the role of the grandmother, the storyteller, and the stories themselves. So I see a significant you know, issue where, you know, I'm concerned um, about that, because it's sort of it it's one of those transformative ways where, unfortunately, the grandparents' role has also been lost as storytellers. You know, they may still be like, but they may still participate in the child rearing and, you know, and other things, but their role as storytellers, excuse me, is not
Just
quite.
transcribing the stories into books is not going to solve that.